I've been a photographer ever since I was a little kid. I started taking photographs when I was in grade school. So just a little kid with a Brownie camera. Maybe 35, 40 years ago, I started photographing storefronts because I always thought it was very interesting to get a picture of a storefront window that had a display in it, but also there was a reflection in the glass, which showed what was behind the camera. So you had kind of two pictures in one. And I think right around that time, I thought about, well, what if I had a panoramic camera and I could photograph something directly in front of me and also something to either side of me and to the rear of me. Lately, the last 20 years or so, I've been shooting photos with a panoramic camera. That's a camera especially made to take a picture in a 360-degree angle. I've always been attracted to the built environment. I've always enjoyed photographing buildings and bridges and viaducts, overpasses. Then when I switched to color photography and panoramic photography, I continued that. I discovered a lot of really great buildings around the country, and I set out to photograph as many as I could. When you look at some of my photographs, you'll notice that they're not taken at an eye level. They're kind of a bird's eye view. Panoramic photography has kind of taken off lately with cell phones. People have discovered you can set your cell phone as a pano and make these wide pictures of everything in front of you. One of the shortcomings of that is when you look at a lot of those pictures, half of the pictures are above the horizon and the other half are below the horizon. So you have a lot of pictures of stop signs and pavement and parked cars. So it kind of clutters up the image a little bit. And I've discovered that if you could raise a panoramic camera up 10 or 15 feet, you can avoid a lot of that. The camera uses just regular Kodak roll film. It's motorized, and when you turn the camera on, it goes in a circle, and at the same time, the film unwinds and moves through the camera. So the camera movement and the film movement are synchronized. I started maybe 25 years ago. I'd go to California and I'd take as many photos as I could of different things, maybe some art museums, some libraries, some movie theaters. So if you do that over 20 or 30 years, you'll have enough photos for 10 different books. Movie theaters are very interesting because they were designed as being a place for people to escape to kind of a fantasy land away from home. I did a book of Las Vegas, and if you've ever been around there, the casino owners have spent millions and billions of dollars to make the buildings attractive because they want to kind of pull you in. I found that the most interesting architecture is usually in the big cities and concentrated on going to Los Angeles, San Francisco, Chicago, New York. I found a few gems in small towns as well. There are some interesting libraries in little towns that you've never heard of. After a few years, I realized that Frank Lloyd Wright was a pretty big presence in the world of architecture. And I discovered that he was going to be a project all to himself. He had a career that spanned about 70 years. He was a real workaholic. He died at age 92, and he still had several unfinished projects on the drafting board. In fact, one of his most well-known buildings is the Guggenheim Museum. Frank Lloyd Wright built 11 structures in Ohio. There's a doctor's office building in Dayton, and the rest are houses. I started photographing the Westcott House probably in 2005 when I first met Marta. And it was handy because it was only an hour and a half drive from Cincinnati, so I could visit it at different times of the year. I could take photos in the fall and the spring with winter snow. I'm still doing panoramic photography, although I've kind of slowed down in the last few years. I just produced a book on significant architecture of America, civic buildings. So I've photographed a lot of state houses, city halls, county courthouses, the U.S. Capitol building, and the Supreme Court, and that was my Ohio 250 and America 250 project. I've enjoyed traveling around the country, taking a lot of different photos of mostly well-known architecture and some not so well-known. And my hope is the viewer gets a sense of the building in its entirety. A lot of times when somebody takes an architectural photograph, they usually back up in the corner to get a widest view as they can, but you don't see what's on the left or right or behind you. So when you put the camera in the middle of the room and make a 360-degree photograph, you see everything all at once. And that's a little bit different way of viewing it